Right, well, hello there. I'm Rod King, and I'm the head of education here at Didcot Railway Centre. And what I'd like to talk to you today about is really what we've been doing in the education team during the year. And what we have been doing is being here every Wednesday, and we've been fully booked all year long. So we've had probably 1,500 school children through here for a day's introduction to all that Didcot Railway Centre has to offer. And that's 1,500 happy, smiling faces enjoying the delights of the trains, the environment, and the shed, and everything that you can find at Didcot. So, really, what I'd like to say is that we're here every Wednesday. There's lots of kids here every Wednesday. The one thing that we could do with is more volunteers, because to run the programme for children, it's great and we need lots of people to help us with. So if you've got spare time on your hands, whether you want to come on, whether you want to get involved with our wonderful model railway here, which the kids love, whether you want to get involved with the maintenance of the carriages, that's great, or whether you feel you could lead a group or take a group round. Whatever your interest, you're welcome to come and join us for a cup of coffee to talk through what we do. So that's it. We're here fully booked every Wednesday right through to the end of the year. We're getting pretty booked through 2025 now. And yeah, come and see us. And we'd love to see you too. Thanks. So as for the future, really, it's more of the same. We'll be here every Wednesday. We'll be fully booked with children every Wednesday. And future projects, well, you can see here we've got what looks rather more like a circus tent than a Great Western Railway station. So our plans now are to do something with that to make it look more like it should, to be a Great Western station. But any thoughts, any help, any ideas, very much welcome on that. So one other thing I'd like to say is a very big thank you to all our current volunteers who make this all happen, and particularly those that work behind the scene. Richard Hale has almost single-handedly built this complete picket fencing along here to try and make this look like a railway station. The Tuesday gang have been out painting the front of the carriages, and as you can see, we've now got resplendent chocolate and cream with the Great Western logo on. So a big thank you to everyone who has helped in any way to make the Didcot education team what it is today. Thanks a lot.
Hello, I'm Richard Antliff. I've been involved with the Society for many years, as most of you probably know. One of the projects that got drawn up about 40 years ago was the Hayford Station building and the Oxford Road station. Now the project is coming forward, and a great deal of work has been done. And as you'll see very shortly, we have plinth stones in place, we have a frame in place. And this frame shows the full bulk of the building, which most people have never been able to imagine. One of the reasons why it was important to recognise the bulk of the building in the work was that we had to make sure it didn't dominate this part of the site. We planted a lot of trees and hedges and things so that it was screened until people actually came up round the corner and saw the building there in all its glory. So that's just one project of many that we've got across the site, which we're planning to do, have been working on for many years, and now taking this particular one forward, and there are others to take forward in the future. So we'll just have a quick peek before we go up the site at the work that's actually been done at Hayford, work led by Tim Part, who's built a very good team of volunteers to do the work. So just behind me on my left, your right, you can see some of the stones in place, all of the plinth stones, all new work, beautifully laid. And if you now swing around much further, you can see the slope up which people will approach, and then as they come round the corner they will see the station building. So lots of things around the site that are to be done. There's plenty of maintenance to do too. I'm sure Stephen Thompson in particular will mention maintenance in his section. We're now up at the other end of the site, having visited, in the order that we filmed it, the Hayford project first down at Oxford Road. Here you can see something we really must be proud of and celebrate, even though we know there are a few aspects of its construction that are not quite as we intended. This is our new entrance ramp. We've waited for 50 years for this, and it's been something that we've needed for 50 years. At last we've got it, and it's already making a real difference to the ease of getting materials into the site and ease of visitors coming into the site who aren't necessarily able just to walk in. The ramp cost us £1 million, and it was made possible because of legacies and donations. That's why we've been able to proceed with it. And the same really goes for the other development projects around the site and the ones we want to do in the future. Hayford has been possible because of large donations and legacies, and we've got about a dozen other major projects we want to do around the site over the next few years. We're looking at the moment as to what should be done in the next 5 years as the realistic list, because of course many projects can be ideas, but circumstances may change. Our list is actually drawn up such that it will always yield Didcot Railway Centre, or render Didcot Railway Centre, one of the best museums in the country for railways, one of the best museums in the world in terms of a collection from any one railway company. So we've got lots of projects we're looking at, and if you want to know a bit more about that, please get in touch. Meanwhile, back here, I'd just like to point out that there are a few things on this ramp project that aren't quite complete. We have a few more railings to add. You can see the black hooped top railings behind me, which are as an exact copy as we've been able to make possible of railings that surround staircases on Great Western stations that were refurbished in the 1930s. We need to surface the ramp that you can see behind me on my right, your left, with the grey aggregate, resin bound aggregate. We'll finish it off and make it look nice. There's a pair of gates to go up at the end as well, which aren't quite up yet. So lots of things to do here. And behind me, you can actually see one of the projects that's already come through the pipeline, which Stephen Thompson is mentioning at the coal stage, and the coal stage roof all repaired. So many projects for the future, all made possible by legacies and donations. If you've contributed, thank you very much. And if you plan to contribute, I hope that the developments that we have achieved in recent years and that we're planning to achieve, and there'll be more about this in the Great Western Echo, the Society magazine too, will be ones that you feel are really worth contributing to.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen Thompson. I've been involved with the Society for 13 years now, and I've recently been promoted to looking after the day-to-day running of the civil engineering department and tackling some of the more interesting jobs that we struggle to get volunteers to perhaps get involved with. One of those jobs that I've taken on this year is getting the Greenland cleared. So 2 years ago we extended our lease to include some sidings that DB Cargo have disused, and so far we've had all the bush and trees and everything cut down and the first round of weed killing undertaken. We've also extended 8 Road out here so we can start storing wagons and other unsightly vehicles out here, and hopefully over the next 2 years we should do a bit more clearing and eventually connect the remaining sidings up to the rest of the site network and allow us to develop the area further. One of the projects I'm going to be tackling over this coming winter is the total renewal of what we call the UP, which is the line that runs from the back of the engine shed to the branch line. Now, most of this was put in with second-hand materials in the early 70s, and it's just becoming life expired. The sleepers are now quite rotten, some of the castings are beginning to break, the crossings are all worn, and as it all needs renewal, it will give us the chance to get a better alignment for any further approach lines into the carriage shed if we decide to do them in the future. And it will also allow us to rejig some of the paths slightly to allow us to build a road from the bus garage to the level crossing to help the trust show off their new vehicle collection. We're going to be using plastic sleepers as part of the renewal, and I appreciate that might not be to everybody's taste. However, the quality of wood has really diminished over the last couple of years, and now creosote's been banned as well. You just won't get the lifespan out of the timbers you put in now, so hopefully the plastics will last another 50 to 60 years, and it will mean I won't have to redo it again in my lifetime. One of the projects that's been slowly ongoing for the last couple of years now is the coal stage restoration. So we've obviously nearly finished doing the tank now. It's had a new roof, it's had a coat of paint, it's had all the metalwork repairs. So our attention can now turn to the coaling floor, which, as you can see, there isn't an awful lot of floor left up here. So hopefully next year we'll look at replacing the floor up here and making it safe for staff, volunteers and visitors to enjoy the facility for another 90 years or so. We'll also look at giving everything a coat of paint as it was all originally whitewashed, and see if we can't get some of the stoves back in here as well to complete the look and feel of the building as it should be. With the ramp nearing completion now, our attention can turn to tidying up the area all around it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, we would like to extend the branch line up here and build a little goods yard and all sorts of wonderful things. However, at the moment, we just don't have the time, the money or the resources to do that yet. So for short to medium term, we're hoping to turn this area into a wildflower garden, which will help with our green credentials and any lottery or funding applications we choose to do in the future, as well as creating something a bit different for our visitors to see.
So, lots of development projects to do across the centre over the years. Most of you know the size of the Railway Museum, well over 20 acres of land, but projects to lay out so that it's a spacious museum even now, or even will be, and maintaining the railway atmosphere, the layout of a railway, the spaciousness of a railway, the atmosphere of a steam age railway, but we do have lots of modern things here as well. It will all need looking after and maintaining, and here's the man who's going to do it.
Thank you. But I can't do it alone, and a very sincere thank you to all of the incredibly dedicated and hard-working volunteer and staff members we've got that have made the organisation and the museum what it is today.
Richard Jermyn, General Manager. Here we are outside the engine shed. As you can see, we've now started work on reslating the lower section over the offices and the rooms. This is to enable us to be able to mount displays in them. This is being funded by the Railway Heritage Trust, who are picking up 40% of it. The Society is paying the rest. The idea is the work will be finished by the early October, and hopefully then we can start work on the rooms after that. One of the major things to keep Didcot Railway Centre running is having to bring materials in, and this involves wagon flows between the site and the West Yard. We have 5 wagons that do this, and one of them you see here, the green, what we call the green wagon, which is grey actually, but we don't worry about that. It was a Taunton concrete wagon with sides, but we've had to take the sides off it so we could bring in a digger to do the ramp work. We've had an awful lot of wagon flow traffic this year. We even had to borrow from DB 4 bogie lobster wagons to facilitate bringing in approximately 600 tonnes of material for the ramp work. It's always the issue here is just trying to find enough space in the siding and have enough vehicles to operate backwards and forwards. And we've recently acquired from Freightliner an LNER Lomac just to try and assist as well, just bringing the number of vehicles up that we have. A strong income flow for the Society is filmings and special projects where people come in and use our site for other purposes. We haven't had many filmings in the last year or so, till the last month, where we've had one big one 3 weeks ago and we're due another one in about 4 weeks' time. We're also offering the site to Great Western for storing IEP trains over the Christmas period. This is likely to be an ongoing thing for several years while they do remodelling of old oak to do with HS2. In October, we have a visit also by the RSSB, who are coming for a special day out where they can enjoy what real railways are like rather than writing lots of legislation. We've had another prolific year for hiring out, and obviously that is a good income flow. It's also very good advertising for the Society. So in case you've missed out, Lady of Legend the Saint has been to the East Somerset, Epping and Ongar, Gloucester and Warwickshire, and the Severn Valley. By the time this report comes out, hopefully the engine will be back at Didcot. 4079, which you see behind me, attended Keighley, East Lancs and the Churnet Valley. It was due to go to the North Yorkshire Moors, but there were some issues with the water carryover, and those are being investigated currently. 4144 again has been out, Battlefield Line, Mid Norfolk twice, the Spa Valley, and is currently at the Mid Hants before it returns to do our Santa services. And also King George did a little trip out where it went to Forley to run for a weekend. We have also had visiting engines just to make up for not sending our engines out. So back in February we had 5199 where we did 51, 41 and 61 altogether. We then in May had the Lancashire and Yorkshire tank engine from the East Lancs, and we've just finished our successful gala with 2 Ivets, one from Keith.
Lee Drew, Locomotive Manager of the Great Western Society, for my sins. We've had a good year with lots of help from the volunteers. I'd particularly like to thank Alex Knight for taking on and implementing boiler treatment for all of our engines. The time saving alone at washouts is well worth the effort, as well as helping to preserve the boilers. Okay, so we're progressing well with 1363. So the new bunker here has all been riveted up and is ready to go. Also got the tank repairs and replacement for 1363. Quite a lot of the metal is new, but we've managed to save the crown and all the fittings up above. Both 1363 and 7202's boilers are progressing well, with the new plate installed and welded, ready to accept the new side plates. The same repairs are happening on 7202. The boiler work on 7202 has now been issued as a contract job. So also this year, 3650's wheels and new tyres have returned, all machined and ready to fit. Also this year, 3650's new tanks have arrived on site and are currently being stored on the frames, which you can see behind me. So Kevin and his team on 3650 are also progressing well with the new boiler plate and the same repairs as 1363 and 7202. We've also taken delivery of the boiler tubes for 1363 and 7202. Buying them in bulk really did bring the price down, which was good.
1014, Phil Webb, one of the volunteers, managed by Dickie Boast overall, plus Mike Bosworth for the boiler. Good progress, cladding up on the barrel, backhead, various other bits and pieces, ejector, gradually getting there in terms of making sure that we get the barrel work finished so that the boiler can go away to HBSS and tubing and everything else. There is a timing issue, but the one thing we do need is man hours and volunteers. There's still a lot of work to do, and the more the merrier in terms of getting the barrel work done.
Here we have BPC, which is in the works, being worked on by the junior volunteers under supervision. The work is to make the boiler accessible to assess for potential future overhaul. So this boiler we managed to purchase thanks to Simon Grego tipping me off that it was available on Facebook Marketplace of all places, but it's currently undergoing its testing to be used on the 6-ton steam crane.
So I'm your Cowes, Carriage and Wagon Manager. Just a brief resume of what we've been doing this year. Mainly wagons, and this is the Mica van. This is the meat van. It's in the high staging area, just having had a new canvas roof put on. Had a major rebuild. Last major job to do are the doors, which will be constructed very shortly. But while we're up here, I will just point out we do have relevant safety equipment, the high wire and the harnesses, which are all certified. So anybody going on a roof needs to wear a harness. And all the way around we have scaffolding to prevent anybody falling off. So at the other end of the staging we have the ex-Taunton Group riding van. This is in for a new canvas roof, so you get an idea of what the actual structure of the roof is before we get started. It will also have a basic repaint and new footboards so it can go back into service with the P-Way department. So this is, call it luggage van 1184. Been a very long-term project that was started by the TPO group many years ago. We've now got main panelling on and it's been filled and is up to first top coat. We've got all the doors to do, and as you can see we've got them either in primer or being rubbed down and filled. We've also got all the locks to put on and all the windows to do. Very complicated job this one, because most of it's missing. So we've got to make the parts up, but it will be done in the fullness of time. Right, so inside Collet Excursion 3rd, 1289. Carrying on with the refurbishment of the interior, stripping it right out and trying to get it back to somewhere like it was when it was originally built. We're in the 3rd quarter. You can see some of the panellings going back in, reassembly of this area. And then we've got the 4th quarter to carry out further on. That will have to all be taken out, stripped down as we've done with this. And then that will be the interior finished. So here we have Anne Davis, who has been tidying up most of the wagons around the site, improving them for the visitors, and at the present moment she's doing the footboards for the riding van, painting them up and getting them ready to be refitted. So well done, Anne, good job. So some of you may recall that we took on a vehicle from the National Railway Museum, the collection that they deaccessioned. It's a tri-composite broad gauge convertible. All we've done at the moment is to tidy it up, make it more presentable, give it a basic repaint, so at least our visitors get to appreciate what it's like. So we're having a look inside 290, a composite Dean four-wheeler that John Plant in particular has been working on. We're looking at one of the 2nd class compartments, basically ready now to send the seat carcasses away for upholstery. We hope to do both 2nd class compartments in the next 6 months or so. So we're inside 3299, the Dreadnought. A lot better than people made out it to be, but still a considerable amount of work. So far we've replaced all the framework on this side. We have to do similar all the way round, so it's going to be a very time consuming job. We're fortunate in that the screens for the compartments are all intact, and although the compartments themselves were completely stripped out, the integrity of the coach has been held together by these screens. They've all been stripped back. We've tried to establish exactly how it was decorated when it was originally built, purely on what we found underneath. And at the moment we're getting it up to a base coat so that it can eventually be scumbled. And that's a wood grain effect. However, we won't do that until all the interior fittings are done so that we don't damage it. So mentioning again about rebuilding all the sides, this is the next side that we've got to deal with, and you can see just the amount of damage that we're going to have to look at. Floors are going to have to be completely rebuilt. These are the bottom rails, and this side panelling has had a lot of damage at some time, but we don't know exactly what caused it. This has all got to be rebuilt. So we're finishing up in the workshop, always trying to improve matters. It's all been insulated now, and as you can see we've got a few panels up from the vehicles that we've been working on. And it leads me to thank everybody in Carriage and Wagon and all our members for their donations that they're making, and also to thank the other departments such as the electrical team, who, as you can see, Dave is down there at the moment working on one of our mortise machines because it's gone bang. Say hello, Dave. Hello. Right, there we go. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Hello, I'm Peter Jones, Chairman of the Great Western Trust, which I'm sure many members realise we're sort of joined at the hip with the GWS, and our responsibility lies, of course, in safeguarding for future generations everything that doesn't run on the 4'7" 7.5 inch. And boy, what a collection that is. We're now individually over 1.25 million items in the collection. And due to the assiduous work of the existing trustees, we are steadily plodding our way through the accreditation process. The role of the GWT is certainly extending, but in this building here you see an example of the progress we've made this year on the fabled Delivering the Goods project. The goods side of the activities of the GWR has long been neglected, and sadly, of course, not many people that are coming onto the site recognise that the goods side of the business was the profitable bit. The passenger business often barely broke even, and it was the goods that kept the Great Western great. We're appreciative of various bequests in the year, and our financial position indeed is stronger now than it's ever been in the history of the Trust and the Society, with funds banked and awaiting spend of over £1 million. Now that may sound good, but of course, as ever, we have far more than that demanding of our investment going forward in future years. And our future projects that worth highlighting here is the track work realignment that we're currently about to undertake this winter, hopefully, but certainly by next autumn, to the rear of the museum building. This will then enable us to put the footings in for a look-alike GWR goods shed. We haven't agreed and decided on the precise specification of that yet, but nevertheless, that's one of our priorities. This tent is a realisation very much down to a finalisation of the work by Roger Orchard, one of our trustees, but items that many members had no idea we had in our bag of tricks. We've got Dennis the fire engine, we've recovered the Thornycroft Nippy from West Wales, which is a genuine 1927 Great Western vehicle, ironically from one of the first areas to set up the hub and spoke collection system in the 1930s. Behind me, the prize cattle wagon, agricultural shows being an important source of revenue for the GWR. And we're just about to spend ballpark £1,000 on a plastic bull, because we all know that what we've got to do is to appeal to a much wider and younger audience, and indeed it's memorable things like that that we hope will get things going. The other major project that we are certainly going to be spending money on is our own website now. The GWS have got their hosting arrangements sorted, and that means that we can now bring pictures, data and accreditation records to the availability of members. Because it's no good having all this material, and physical or otherwise, if in fact we don't make it available, not just on site, but through the internet to the UK and to a wider global audience. Otherwise, as we move to CIO or charitably incorporated organisation status, we're not fulfilling the objectives in full that is expected of us from the Charity Commission. So let's go and see what we could do in the museum. So here in the reading room, of course, this is the mecca of the GWR records, and we're adjacent to our temperature controlled and fire halon protected storage bays. But here we are sitting on what I believe, GWR apart, is the biggest collection of material of any joint stock company that has ever existed. And that's a pretty bold claim, but the reality is that none of the other preserved railways have got such a comprehensive collection as this. So what keeps us awake at night? Well, look, the key issue is how can we actually make all this available? And digitisation will go part way towards that. And all the trustees do recognise that now we've got to up our game. It's going to be maybe £250,000 at least to revamp our cabinets. So we've got plenty to think about going forward. But on behalf of the Trust, I would, as chairman, like to thank our fellow trustees, and also, of course, thank you, the membership, for the wonderful work that you do, finding new material, donating it in the form of either physical material or indeed, dare I say it, funds. Thank you very much indeed.